Dear students, in today's session, we will be discussing in detail about the physiological process, one of the important process of a human being, the respiration. We all be knowing very well about the fact that the coronavirus, which has caused a severe infection, mainly in the lungs, and that has caused the maximum death, devastating experience worldwide because of the COVID-19 pandemics. So in this context, we are going to see the respiration with reference to human beings, the respiratory system, the types of respiration, and the general details pertaining to the process known as respiration. So respiration is a physiological process which is used in several different ways. Cellular respiration is the aerobic breakdown of glucose in the mitochondria to make ATP molecules. We all know that the ATP molecules, or the energy yielding molecules, are the particles which are synthesized by the mitochondria by breaking down the glucose molecules. The respiratory systems are the organs in animals that exchange gases with the environment. Respiration in an everyday term that is used often to mean breathing. So to define respiration scientifically is the gaseous exchange which happens between the organism and the environment. We can classify this into two broader terms or the types, namely the external respiration and internal respiration. The external respiration, which happens between the environment and the lungs, while the internal respiration happens between the blood and the cell inside the body. Breathing in and breathing out, or inhalation or exhalation, are the two important processes which we call collectively as respiration. During these two stages of process, the gases are exchanged between the environment and the organism in general and human beings in particular. The step one breathing in process or inhalation process, wherein the rib cages are expanded, diaphragm makes a downward movement, pressure inside the lung gets reduced, and as a result, the air is drawn into the lungs from the environment. In the second phase, the breathing out phase or the exhalation phase, where the rib cages contract, diaphragm makes a movement, upward movement or inward movement, pressure inside the lung increases. As a result, the air is pushed out of the lung. So these are the two aspects or the sessions of the collective term known as respiration. In the first session, wherein the breathing in process, the fresh oxygen loaded or oxygen rich air gets into the system, while in the second session, the breathing out process or the exhalation process, the polluted air, or in other words, the air which contains more of carbon dioxide, which are collected from the tissues, are passed out, are pushed out of the lung to the environment. So we can classify this respiration process as a narrative inclusion of pulmonary ventilation, wherein the air moves in and out of the lungs, continuous replacement of these two gases, namely the oxygen and carbon dioxide in the alveoli happens. Alveoli are nothing but the air sacs, which are the part or the organs of the respiratory system, which we'll be seeing in detail in the later slides. External respiration, gas exchange between the blood and air at the alveoli happens. Oxygen in the air diffuses into the blood. Carbon dioxide in the blood diffuses into the air. Transportation of respiratory gases also happens through a regular means of the route that happens between the lungs and the cells of the body. This happens or the respiratory gases are exchanged by means of the support and the coordinated function of cardiovascular system, wherein the blood is also involved in transporting these gases and acts as a liquid fluid. Internal respiration, the gas exchange takes place in the capillaries between the blood and the tissue cells. Oxygen in the blood diffuses into the tissues, and CO2 waste in tissues diffuses into the blood. So, the successful process of respiration takes place with the support of respiratory system, which includes the trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. This picture is depicting the respiratory system, which is starting from the nasal cavity, leading to pharynx, epiglottis, larynx, esophagus, trachea, bronchi, and these bronchi leads into the lobe-like structures or the lungs. There, they are further divided into many branches known as the bronchioles, which are in turn ended up in the alveoli or the air sacs. So the respiratory system of a human being consists of the trachea, then the bronchi, branched out further in the form of minute tubules known as the bronchioles. Further, they are divided into many air sac-like structures, which are known as the air sacs or the alveoli. If you see the structure of the lungs, it has two lobes, namely the upper lobe and the lower lobe. And in the form of two sections, one is on the right side and the other one is positioned on the left side of the body. Between the two lungs, the heart, the main organ of the circulatory system, is tucked in for effective functioning and coordination. Below that, you can see the membranous structure, which is known as the diaphragm. So these are the major structures of the human respiratory system. You will have to look into the details of the air sacs, which play a vital role or the significant role in the gaseous exchange of the process known as the respiration. They are the alveoli. The alveoli are the moist, thin-walled pockets or air sacs, which are the sites of gas exchange. There is a slight oily surface particles or the surfactant, which prevents the alveolar walls from collapsing and sticking together, and that is why they are just arranged without having any kind of a collapsing or bunching in the form of a grape bunch. Circulation and gas exchange has an interconnectedness wherein they follow a perfect route or a regular route. Here we can classify the blood into two types, namely the oxygenated blood, wherein the oxygen loaded blood is circulated to all the cells and tissues of the body, while the deoxygenated blood, which is loaded with carbon dioxide, which is nothing but the wastes which are collected in the tissues and cells are transported through the blood to the exhalation process. So there is a route, there is a stepwise procedure for this gas exchange process, and it is also well coordinated with the circulatory system. Step 1, the gases move in and out of the lungs by breathing. Step 2, oxygen and carbon dioxide are getting exchanged in the lungs by the process known as diffusion. Step 3, the gases are dissolved in the blood and are transported by the circulatory system. Step 4, oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged in the tissues by diffusion technique. So the gas exchange at the lungs and in the body cells moves oxygen into the cell and carbon dioxide out of the body. In some animals, like the aquatic animals, the gas exchange also takes place by means of diffusion. So these animals are having a low metabolic rate. We do not know why, and I am leaving this to you as to think of why these animals which are doing this gas exchange process by diffusion method having low metabolic rate, because all of these are aquatic animals. In some animals like the fishes, there are structures which are specialized for gas exchange, which includes the gills in the case of aquatic animals, spiracles in the case of terrestrial insects, and lungs in the case of most of the terrestrial vertebrates. There you can see a distinct variations or the difference in the organ which is responsible for gas exchange, and it is getting differentiated as the evolutionary progress of the classes or the animal phyla getting added up. The fish increases gas exchange efficiency using countercurrent exchange. That is, running blood through the system in the opposite direction to water keeps a diffusion gradient throughout the entire exchange. Why so in the case of fishes? I am leaving this also to you all, as you all are science zoology students, to think of and to come back to me to the next class, to the next session on the same topic with little more inputs and information on various further details on respiration. Thank you.